Kung Fu Panda as a series has no right being as good as it is. From its amazing characters to its beautiful color palettes and environments, it's something truly special that I hold dear to my heart. Some of the most standout characters are of course the villains, and they all shine in their own way. But to me, only 2 out of 3 truly reach the status of a great villain. I know you probably just want to know who I think is the weaker villain of the 3, so I'll just say it now. This guy, Kai. He's not as great of a villain as Shen or Tai Lung. And I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out, since I'm going to break it down for you into 2 parts per character. The first part being knowing when to take your antagonist seriously, and the second being knowing your character's motivations and what drives them. We will get into characters shortly, but first let's talk about why these 2 things are critical in creating imposing antagonists. Knowing when to take your antagonist seriously is extremely important when setting up an antagonist. Depending on the tone the movie is going for, it can make or break the movie entirely. And because most animated properties are aimed at children, it's almost impossible to avoid jokes when it comes to the villains, either jokes directed towards them or themselves telling jokes. And this isn't inherently bad, but making jokes at the expense of our antagonist can lead to the audience not taking that character as seriously as they should. We as an audience are letting ourselves be whisked away into these worlds by the writers, so everything they present helps us shape the narrative in our own mind. The same thing goes with character motivations and what drives them. We only feel invested in the character if we can relate to who they are and why they are taking the actions they are. If a character has a weak backstory and motivation, we end up feeling like the actions a character is taking are drastic or even out of character. In the case of Kung Fu Panda, the tone is usually lighthearted, but underneath it there's always this lingering sadness and a story about self-discovery and acceptance. It's hard to balance a story that has these themes, but it's able to balance itself out because the characters are taking the serious moments seriously.
Oh, you want to know so badly. You think knowing will heal you, huh? Fill some crater in your soul. Well, here's your answer. Your parents didn't love you.
And the lighthearted moments lighthearted.
Shen! A panda stands between you and your destiny. What? Prepare yourself for a hot serving of justice. Your reign of terror comes to an end.
What?
Now, while mixing the 2 can work, we'll talk about why it worked for some and why it didn't for one. Let's look at how the writers treat each of them. Of course, we're going to start with the OG Snow Leopard, the one who started it all, Tai Lung. From the moment we hear about Tai Lung, from when Oogway tells Shifu about his vision, we know how scary Tai Lung is. Just the possibility of Tai Lung escaping prison sends Shifu into a panic, and every instance and every interaction our main cast has with him, there's not a moment where they aren't taking the situation seriously. After meeting him once, the Furious Five are terrified of him and are sent back alive as a message to the rest of the Valley of Peace that he means business. It's not until his battle with Po do we see humor at the expense of Tai Lung, to show the audience that although he might be strong, Po might just have what it takes to humble him and defeat him once and for all. So throughout almost all the film, everyone is taking the threat of Tai Lung as someone who is not a laughing matter. Let's hop on over to Shen. We know right away just from the opening how terrifying and ruthless Shen is when he wipes out almost the entirety of the pandas based on a vision from the soothsayer. After that, every time we meet him, we see his mental state barely held together, and the only thing on his mind is vengeance, and to prove his destiny wrong. When it comes to humor at the expense of Shen, we see the soothsayer ripping his silken robe, pulling a feather out of him, but we know that this isn't because he's not a threat. The soothsayer knows that Shen's ego is too big to let her die before he's able to prove her wrong. We also get a short joke where Po cuts Shen off accidentally, and some minor back and forth before we are snapped back to the severity of the situation when Shen goes to use the weapon against the 5 and Po. And soon after, he completely collapses his own ancestral home in an attempt to kill them. The last big standout moment showing how ruthless Shen is when his own right-hand man, or I guess right-hand wolf, won't shoot the cannon since it will hit his own comrades in arms. So Shen kills him, without a second thought. Overall, once again, we see how the characters treat Shen, and it all points to him being a threat. And next we have Kai. And I'm sure some of you will say, but Kai defeated everyone in the spirit realm, look how strong he is, he beat Oogway and Tai Lung, look at that one scene where you can see Tai Lung on his belt and his theme is so good. Listen, I get it. But just because the writers are telling us he's strong, and in instances showing us he's strong, that doesn't mean he's going to feel that way if he keeps not being taken seriously. Take for the instance where the bunny and goose meet Kai, or Shifu and Furious Five or Po come in contact with Kai for the first time, and when he tells them who he is, they all respond with, "Who?" Or when he's constantly getting cut off when trying to talk about his plan with the chit-chat bit.
How about you spare me the chit-chat? I'm going to take your chi, then the chi of every panda in the...
Chit chat.
In this...
Chitty chitty chat chat
In-
chat chat chat.
In this...
The characters keep treating him like not a threat. Even when giving the audience exposition through a scroll about his past, no one knows who he is, and it kind of just feels like one big joke. I know that there's some story reasons for this, but the problem still stands. The more the characters and writers treat him like a joke, the more he feels like a joke. One of Kai's best scenes is when he attacks the Jade Palace and he's at his peak of how threatening he is. At this point in the film, all of our characters know how big of a threat Kai is, as Shifu even stated before he arrived how all the masters in China have gone missing, probably taken by Kai. But even though we hear this, we have Monkey who is talking about his bestie Mantis who was turned to a Jade Warrior. I know that one instance is super small, but when a lot of these small things keep happening, it builds a narrative in the audience's mind and tells us that Kai isn't as scary as Tai Lung or Shen were to the characters in the movie. Even when this good callback moment to the Tai Lung fight is happening, it doesn't feel earned because we were never truly taking Kai as seriously as he should have been. Even during the first encounter in person between Kai and Po after the Wuxi finger hold doesn't work, Kai starts goofing around and pretending that he's dying, and it kind of just feels off. Why should we care about this guy? Is Po even scared of this guy? If the audience is told that it's okay to undermine the villain, and he's only being taken seriously in a couple of scenes instead of a majority, then the villain doesn't feel as big of a threat anymore. Okay, so everyone knows what Tai Lung is after, because it's told to us multiple times. He wants the Dragon Scroll and the power that it holds. But we get a little bit more nuance once we find out the reason why. We find out from the scene where Tigress is explaining Tai Lung's past, along with the scene where Shifu fights him in the Jade Palace, that it was due to Shifu's own relentlessness of pushing Tai Lung to train harder and the expectations that followed it that led to Tai Lung wanting to earn his final goal, the Dragon Scroll. Because in his eyes, his father would finally be proud of him once reaching this one-of-a-kind power.
What I ever did, I did to make you proud. Tell me how proud you are, Shifu. Tell me. Tell me!
It led him down a path that he most likely would not have reached on his own if it wasn't for Shifu's blindness to what his adopted son truly needed. And although Shifu does realize that it was his fault, and Tai Lung finally gets what he's always wanted, his father telling him he is proud, it's too late. Tai Lung is so consumed by this lifelong goal that he was shaped by it. Even though he got what he wanted, it wasn't when he needed it. When it comes to what drives Shen, it gets even deeper. We find out from multiple scenes with the soothsayer and the opening paper puppet animation that Shen felt so wrong by his parents for banishing him, after he went to commit, genocide against the pandas, that he wished to conquer all of China and possibly the world after. Shen is so deranged, and he feels that if he holds all this power and domain, that it will somehow fill his soul from its empty state. He wants so badly to prove the soothsayer, and by proxy his parents, wrong, that he's willing to go to the ends of the earth because he wants to feel like he was a victim.
The cup you choose to fill has no bottom. It is time to stop this madness,
Why on earth would I do that?
so your parents can rest in peace.
My parents hated me. Do you understand? They wronged me. And I will make it right.
In doing so, he makes mistake after mistake, and just like what Oogway said to Shifu,
one often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it.
let's take a look at what Kai's goals are and what he is driven by. When it comes to Kai, we know through some, not as graceful exposition from Shifu, that Kai was a brother-in-arms to Oogway, and he got obsessed with taking people's chi to add to his own power. In doing this, Oogway fought, beat him, and then banished him to the spirit realm so he couldn't harm anyone else. We know from his fight at the beginning with Oogway that Kai wishes to return to the mortal realm and take the chi of all masters and destroy Oogway's legacy.
I fought by his side. I loved him like a brother. And he betrayed me. Well, now I will destroy everything he has created!
This is all fine and good, but I feel like we really don't get much more than this. For someone who is so bent on wiping out the memory of the greatest kung fu master and wishes to take down every single master across China, his demeanor and attitude just kinda don't match up with his goal. He just seems like some guy walking around and picking up masters like Pokemon, and even when at the Jade Palace when he tells the audience that he wants to destroy everything Oogway created, and that he wants to wipe out the memory of him, it just doesn't feel convincing. Sure, he's fighting them, but we don't, see his mental state hanging by a thread like Shen, where we can believe that someone would do such a thing, or Tai Lung, where we see from his past how he was formed into the way he is. We just don't get enough of Kai's backstory to truly relate to or believe why he's doing what he's doing. Basically, just to conclude with Tai Lung and Shen, we as the audience can relate, or at least understand why they are doing what they are doing, and why they would go to the lengths to achieve their goals. We see this through backstory or exposition, or how the characters treat them. And it's why when looking at everything in total, I always feel like Kai just falls short of something that could have been truly great. Have to admit though, theme slaps.
Kai!
Shout out to, Hans Zimmer. Sucks that John Powell couldn't hop onto this track, but, it is what it is. Anyways, thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, please like it. Thank you, and good night.